Hey, what's going on? I am Jake. Welcome back to KALE Robot. Today we are making huaraches. Huaraches are basically these long ovular paddles made of corn masa. Today I'm going to be topping it with all sorts of goodies. It's going to get a layer of smoked guacamole, then some roasted maitake mushrooms, along with some breakfast radishes, sugar snap peas, some fresh dill, and some fresh epazote. Why don't you check it out? This is how I make them. Oh, you guessed it. We are breaking out the cold smoker again today. We got our mise en place going. Let's start off by zesting a couple of limes. We're going to be juicing these later, so it's good to get this out of the way first. 2 limes zest just in a prep bowl and set it over to the side. Next up, we've got our shallots. First, let's just remove the stem and the root. Then we'll cut these in half and remove the peel. And after that, we're just gonna get this, give these a nice rough chop. The smaller the better on these pieces. It's gonna help both with the curing and in the finished guacamole, but feel free to do as you like. Let's move these all over into another prep bowl over to the side here. And we're gonna cut our limes and start juicing. Let's juice both of these limes onto the sliced up shallot along with some salt, and we're gonna get a curing. Curing is basically just gonna take the bite out of the raw shallot. I probably would have recommended using 3 limes here. It was a little bit more intense than I was hoping for, so just accordingly. Next up, we are chopping our chilies. I usually use this assortment. We've got 1 serrano chili as well as 2 chiles de arbol. Chop it up, whatever size you like, and that's going into the bowl along with our lime zest. I'd probably recommend using gloves here unless you want to punish your eyes later. Gloves are always helpful. All right, let's open up this avocado. What a beauty. There's nothing better in the world than getting a perfect avocado like that. Cross-hatch slices here, and then just scoop it all out into the same bowl that we were using for our lime zest and chilies. Time to mash. All right, first we're gonna add our cured shallot. Nice and pink. That acid really brings out the color. Everything goes into that bowl and start mashing with our just potato masher here. Well, I would recommend using a bigger bowl than I'm using, or else you create a mess like I did. I'll clean up after myself. And then I'm gonna actually spread this finished guac. This is ready to go as is if you want, but I'm just spreading it all along the sides of the bowl, which is gonna increase the surface area as we move on to our next step. That, of course, is the cold smoker. Now, we're gonna get this started just by putting a piece of plastic wrap over the bowl and setting up the cold smoker. This is the smoking gun I'm using here. I may have changed names, I don't remember. Anyway, I'm using mesquite wood chips, turning on the switch and just feeding the hose directly into the bowl. You are not gonna get a perfect seal here, so just keep that in mind. This is gonna get a little smoky. Use proper ventilation if you can. I let this smoke for about, 10, 15, 20 minutes maybe. Really until those wood chips just finish up. You can just turn that off and let it continue to go to smoke underneath the plastic, even with it turned off. Now, while that is set aside, we are gonna break out our mushrooms. Maitake mushrooms are my absolute favorite mushroom in the entire world. I don't know what it is about them. I think it's because they get a little bit crispy and a little bit tender. You just pull them apart like this when you get this big monster piece of maitake, and you just shred them like this. And then once you've got everything assembled, put in place on your tray, make sure you get every last little bit here. Like I'm gonna do, can't waste even the smallest piece. I'm gonna toss them with fat. I'm gonna use coconut fat here. It's usually my fat of choice. Feel free to use olive oil, butter, avocado oil, whatever suits your taste. A little bit of salt, a little bit of fat here. Give it a nice toss, distribute evenly, give it a little shake. And then we're gonna pop these right into a 350 degree oven. This is gonna roast for probably 20 to 25 minutes, depending on how crowded your pan is. But then you get that. That is exactly what you're looking for. These things have reduced in size a little bit. The ends have gotten toasty and crispy, and the stem bits have gotten sort of tender and juicy. It's amazing. All right, rapid fire time. We're on to breakfast radishes. This is just some quick veg prep. Breakfast radishes, taking off the stem and the root, give it some nice slices and throw them onto a plate. Sugar snap peas, anything more spring-like than sugar snap peas, let me know. I can't think of anything. Take off the sort of fibrous bit there, take off the tail, and I like to slice this on a bias and set it on a plate. My favorite herb, dill. This is really requires no explanation. Just give it a slice, throw it on a plate. And we're gonna move on over to epazote. Epazote is so cool. If you haven't tried it, definitely try to pick some up at a Mexican market or something. Epazote tastes like petroleum, or it really smells like it at least. It's really intense, it's kind of fun. Definitely works really great with mushrooms. So fresh epazote here, I'm just going to give it a little chiffonade, slice it into these ribbons, and then I'm gonna then chop it into smaller pieces. A little bit goes a long way when you're working with the raw stuff, but definitely try not to neglect it if you can. All right, huaraches time. We're gonna make a quick masa, and just using some masa harina, using white masa harina from Hacienda. I'm adding a little bit of salt as well as some boiling water. I never really use the exact same ratio every time. It seems to vary based on the humidity. So really, I'm just adding boiling water as I go. You're looking for a dough that's not too wet, not too dry. If it's a little too sandy, add some more water. If it's a little too wet and sticky, add a little bit more masa harina, and then just sort of mix it as you go. Use a fork while you can, and then when it cools down, once it cools down, just use your hands and mash it and get it to a nice consistent texture. From there, we're gonna round it into balls, and then take that ball and you're gonna round it into a cylinder. This ugly cylinder is gonna go right onto a sheet of plastic on our tortilla press, and just watch what happens after you press that ugly log that you just made. Ah, what a beautiful huarache! Huarache, of course, translates to sandal. So we got our masa sandal on a super hot cast iron pan, and we're gonna let this cook. It's gonna cook for probably, I don't know, somewhere like a minute per side. It's usually a little bit longer on the first side, and once the edges start to curl up a little bit, then you give it a flip. So it's probably like a minute 15, minute 30 on one side, and then like 30 to 45 seconds on the other. If you get a little puffiness, that's great. If not, don't worry about it. Just stack it on a plate and get ready for putting this whole thing together when you're done. I like to grab my huarache right from the middle of the pack there. It's going to be nice and hot, and it's been steaming a little bit. Pick your side, and let's start to assemble this thing. First up, we get our smoked guacamole, sort of like an avocado toast vibe going here. And then right on top go the mushrooms. Still beautiful, crunchy, crispy, meaty, delicious. I'm going to put the epazote directly on there, so you want to get just immediate contact. You want to get a bite of a little bit of both as you eat this thing. Then we go with the veggies, some radishes, as well as our spring peas. A little bit more fat, never hurt anybody. A little extra virgin olive oil. Topping that then with the dill. It's going to stick real nicely there with the fat and the dill together. And that's your assembled huarache. This is my first huarache, by the way, so I had to figure out how to eat this. I took the New York slice approach. Fold this up like a slice of New York pizza. And that's a wrap. That is a springtime smoked guacamole huarache. There you have it. Huaraches. Those were cool. I've never tried those before outside of just making them here for the first time. They're delicious. They're like a taco, but they're different. I don't know. They're similar in so many ways, but how you eat them and what you're putting on them kind of just changes it up. It doesn't have that same feeling. Anyway, I hope you try it. If you do, please leave me a note in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have gotten this far, please give this video a like down below and maybe think about subscribing. All these things are super helpful to having the channel grow. With that, I'm gonna get out of here. thank you again for coming. I appreciate your support. I'm going to see you next time. Bye now.